going on, guys? I'm going to counter Chung Moon. He was a professor at Yonsei University. He wrote a book called Sunshine Policy. Here you guys go. In defense of engagement as a path to peace in Korea. And he defends the Sunshine Policy, and it's his right to do so, but it's my right to say that's wrong. Okay? All right. First of all, he notes one of the accomplishments is over 130 South Korean firms established offices and factories and buildings in North Korea. Here's the problem, like in the Kaesong Industrial Complex. North Korea chooses those workers, and they choose them very carefully. And almost all the workers are single women. They don't want the conditions of the factory to be reported to many other North Koreans. They don't want it to circulate. So that's why they choose single women, because they're the loneliest. Also, the North Korean government seizes over 70% of the workers' wages. And a lot of the money North Korea makes from the Kaesong Industrial Complex, it goes to manufacturing nuclear weapons. The Wall Street Journal did an article on that, talking about that. 70% of the profits from the Kaesong Industrial Complex go to manufacture nuclear weapons. The money that goes to North Korea. Okay. Also, one of the accomplishments that it notes is that before the Sunshine Policy happened, just a little bit over 2,400 South Koreans visited North Korea. But when the Sunshine Policy was implemented for about a whole year, between 1998 and 1999, over 8,500 South Koreans visited North Korea. Okay? Well, when they visited North Korea, like example, Mount Kumgang, he didn't note this in his book. When they visit North Korea, you are taken down a specific isolated road to Mount Kumgang. And they highly discourage the tourists from looking out the window, even though there wasn't much to look out to. And when you got to the resort, red flags were risen at the slightest offense any tourist made. And a lot of places just right outside the resort were off limits. North Korea did not want the South Korean citizens to see what was going on. And that is the downside of the Sunshine Policy. Yes, over 800,000 South Koreans ended up going to Mount Kumgang. But North Korea reaped almost all of the profits. And they charged a very hefty sum to Hyundai, for Hyundai to be able to build Mount Kumgang in North Korea. They charged $500 million. The South Korean courts ruled that $400 million was okay, but the other $100 million was an illegal transaction. The South Korean Supreme Court ruled that. And he does note in this book all the attacks that North Korea did during the Sunshine Policy. He also notes that South Korea did increase their defense spending during the Sunshine Policy, which South Korea did. Okay, he notes that. He also notes the Japanese Prime Minister before Junichiro Koizumi, Keizo Obuchi, that he supported the Sunshine Policy. But even though people may have supported the Sunshine Policy at the time, it didn't make it right, because the South Koreans were very forgiving of the first few attacks, but when North Korea sank the Cheonan and attacked Yeonpyeong Island, that was the end of it. Many South Koreans started opposing the Sunshine Policy. And he mentions the Cheonan sinking and the shelling of Yeonpyeong Island, but he doesn't go into heavy detail with that. He also does mention that North Korea did not return any of the South Koreans that they abducted, but South Korea gave up the North Korean spies that they captured during the Sunshine Policy. He does note that in the book, but to me, that's an example of why we shouldn't have the Sunshine Policy. So, anyways, I mean, it was his right to defend the Sunshine Policy, but as I pointed out, yes, more South Koreans did visit North Korea, but they were only allowed in very limited areas, and they had to pay large sums of money. And he also didn't mention in the book that most of the money, if not all the money, went to the regime. A lot of the defectors who are in South Korea now that defected, they lived in North Korea during the Sunshine Policy. And they said when the policy was going on, they didn't see any of the food. They didn't see any of the fertilizer. They didn't see any of the aid. And Kang Chol-won, who defected, He wrote the book, The Aquariums of Pyongyang. He said before the Sunshine Policy was implemented, the North Korean government was on the verge of collapse. It was going to collapse any minute, but all the Sunshine Policy did was basically prop up the regime. It propped up the Kim regime. It didn't help basic human needs in North Korea, and it didn't help the average North Korean person. So far, not one North Korean defector has came out in support of the Sunshine Policy. And Chung In-moon does not mention that in the book. He doesn't mention how opposed defectors are to the Sunshine Policy. He also does not mention that North Korea used some of that money that South Korea gave them during the Sunshine Policy to purchase 8 Mi-24 helicopters from the country Kazakhstan and also around 30 MiG-21 jet fighters. Doesn't mention that. Anyways, hope everybody's doing well. Take care. God bless and bye-bye. Bye-bye.